This session of probate court will come to order.
Your Honor, our first case is Peter J. Smith versus St. Mary's Hospital.
Are both parties present?
I will be representing Peter J. Smith, the plaintiff, Your Honor.
I will be representing St. Mary's Hospital, Your Honor.
Peter J. Smith? Could that be the astronaut Peter J. Smith?
Yes, Your Honor.
Will somebody please tell me why probate court is involved with the lawsuit between an astronaut and a hospital?
My client is suing the hospital to force them to perform minor surgery.
Thank you. That was no help at all. I still don't know why you have involved probate court.
Your Honor, the so-called minor surgery requested by the plaintiff would result in the death of a person.
Thank you. That was no help at all. I still don't know why you have involved probate court. Would somebody like to answer my question?
The reason probate court is involved is because the person whose life would be lost in the surgery can't speak for himself. And in matters where a person can't speak for himself, the law requires that probate court speaks on his behalf.
Well, you're getting warmer. Now tell me why the astronaut's life would be endangered by the surgery and why he can't speak for himself.
It isn't the astronaut whose life is in the balance, Your Honor.
Keep talking. I don't see any other person listed in the complaint.
If I may, Your Honor, I'd like to explain.
I wish you would.
My client merely wishes to have a growth removed from his ear canal.
Nice try. I still don't see the other person involved.
Neither do I.
Enlighten us, counselor.
The so-called growth in the astronaut's ear is the person who will lose his life.
Are you saying that there's a person in Peter J. Smith's ear canal?
That's exactly what I'm saying, Your Honor. As you may have read recently in the papers, Mr. Smith and his crew just returned from their mission to one of the moons of Jupiter, where they encountered a new species of humanoids who call themselves the Dust People.
The Dust People?
Yes, Your Honor. They get the name from the fact that their offspring in their larval stage are the size of specks of dust.
So, what you're saying is that the plaintiff has one of these larvae in his ear canal.
That's correct, Your Honor. And the hospital is preventing him from having it removed surgically.
Is that true, counselor?
That's true, Your Honor. But if the larva is removed from the plaintiff's ear canal, he will die.
Your Honor, I object to defense counsel's use of the personal noun he. Plaintiff maintains that a speck of dust cannot be called a he.
What do you say about that, counselor?
Actually, Your Honor, this whole case revolves irrevocably around whether the larva is a he or an it. If the court decides that the larva of a humanoid is an it, no excuse for killing it is required. But if the larva is a he, no excuse for killing him is adequate. It all revolves around the personhood of the organism in the plaintiff's ear.
I see. Actually, I don't see. But at least I know now why this case was referred to probate court. Well, okay, let's hear your arguments, counselor.
Your Honor, since the surgery will be done on the plaintiff's own body, what he does with his own body is his own business. The law cannot interfere with what a man wants to do with his own body.
Save your sound bites for the 6 o'clock news, counselor. You know as well as I do that criminal law is all about interfering with what a man wants to do with his own body. You're not advocating that we eliminate laws against public nudity or public drunkenness or urinating on the sidewalks, are you?
Oh, no. I just thought...
Do you have any substantial arguments for your case, counselor?
Yes, of course. We contend that since the organism in question is located entirely within the ear canal of my client, the decision about whether to have surgery or not should belong to my client alone.
Counselor!
Your Honor, the location of the person does not make him less than a person. Does the value of a person change whenever he goes to a different location? Is a person less of a person when he's underwater or even in a jail cell?
Good question, counselor. Is this larva less of a person merely because of his location?
The plaintiff would argue that the larva is not a person at all, no matter where it's located, Your Honor. The larval form of this humanoid represents a speck of dust more than it resembles a person.
Counselor!
Your Honor, the appearance or resemblance of the person is irrelevant to its personhood. If I step on a caterpillar, does not a butterfly cease to exist? The larval form of the dust people has exactly the same number of chromosomes as the mature adult form. The only difference is the maturity. If maturity is required to be a person, should we allow babies or even teenagers to be killed because they're not adults?
Defense counsel has a point there, counselor. Should I be allowed to kill my 27-year-old son because he is still not emotionally mature yet?
Your Honor, the plaintiff contends that the larva is not really a person because it's not viable on its own. That is, the larva is dependent upon the body of its host for warmth and nutriment.
Counselor!
By that logic, Your Honor, we should be able to kill everyone who is in intensive care in the hospital, all children under 8 years old, and senior citizens in nursing homes. Does the court consider people on life support to be less than human?
Actually, this court would not exist if all those people were considered less than human. This court speaks for people who can't speak for themselves because of dependency. I think defense counsel is right, counselor. This case is not about the location of the larva, or its size, or its stage of development, or its viability, or its dependence. This case is all about whether we consider the dust people themselves as human.
Well, just look at the name. How can they be considered human if they're dust people?
Counselor?
Your Honor, I requested this assignment to defend the hospital against this lawsuit because I am one of the dust people.
You what?
Is that true?
Yes, Your Honor. The larva growing in Peter J. Smith's ear is my offspring. If you allow him to remove the larva from his ear before its due date, a person will die. Admittedly a small person, but a person nonetheless.
Well, I think our obligation is obvious here. This court speaks for persons who can't speak for themselves. And since we have demonstrated that a person's appearance, location, development, dependency, or size does not make it less of a person, this court cannot deny that the larva in the plaintiff's ear canal is a person. Now, if the presence of this person was threatening the life of his host, the lives of both persons would be threatened, and this court would be forced to choose which life to save. But no such threat was alleged by the plaintiff in the complaint. Therefore, I have no choice but to deny the plaintiff's motion to end the life of this tiny person. The requested surgery is denied. This court is adjourned.
Based on a play by Bob Snook, Conditions for Use. Do not sell any part of this script, even if you rewrite it. Pay no royalties, even if you make money from the performance. You may reproduce and distribute this freely, but all copies must contain this statement.